Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Your headlines today: James Gunn teases we will get some news on his brand new DC Universe in the not too distant future. Isn't that exciting? And here's a rumour for you. The guy who played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones is in the Flash movie for sure. Some people are teasing it's as Reverse Flash. What, you want me to tell you if that's true or not? I can't. But he's in the movie. One thing I'll say about the Flash movie, they've injected a lot of money into that movie. So I'm excited to see the full movie. I did see the test screening. And so that's kind of an event. So I think that's going to be the highlight for DC next year. So, is it too little, too late for DC? Has Zaslav come in too late to save DC? Will the Gunn and Saffron plan actually work? Well, it's a bit hard to work that one out because we don't know the actual plan. So it's very exciting today to hear that yesterday James Gunn said we're going to hear some news in the not too distant future. What news would I like to hear? Well, I'm going to be boring and say the same thing I say every day. The only thing I want to know, because he's already said to us that this is going to be a one franchise story spanning movies, TV animation, and gaming, which is very exciting if you ask me, but I want context. That's the most important thing for me. I don't need a slate. If he gives us some kind of slate, I still don't think we're going to hear anything by the end of this year, but the not too distant future, and he said he's being vague to cover himself, and I don't blame him about that, but yeah, I just want context. Do next year's movies have any basis in the future? Do they matter in terms of his and Peter's future plans? That's what I need to know. So, yeah, what we're discussing on today's DC Universe Daily is it too little too late? Because as we've seen with Wakanda Forever, it's had a huge drop-off of nearly 80%, a 79% drop-off. That isn't good. And the only bragging rights they've got is to say, oh, we literally recouped the whole of Black Adam's global box office in 1 week. Well, that's great, but that's like the hare bragging that he beat the tortoise. You know, there's nothing to be proud of because you beat Black Adam. But that's the thing as well, isn't it? So Black Adam has a Superman post-credit scene. At the time, so exciting. You know, Henry Cavill confirming he's back as Superman, although nobody else at the studio, Gunn, Saffron, Zaslav, has allowed the name Henry Cavill to escape their lips, let alone the name Superman. That's a little bit concerning for me. Now, someone made a great point on Twitter. Could it be that Zaslav maybe is thinking, well, let's look at the Black Adam box office. You know, we put Henry Cavill as Superman in a post-credit scene. Maybe they were testing the waters. And, you know, this film, when it finishes its global run, is going to be just about, if it's lucky, you know, 400 million, which is not great. And it's not a great indication that Henry Cavill's Superman is that popular. And again, I'm going to say this. When we're inside this DC bubble, this DC fandom bubble, and we were all getting hyped to Henry being back and him confirming that, we were celebrating, we were popping the champagne corks the lot. But the truth is, right, outside of our fandom, I don't think people that are that interested in Henry Cavill's Superman, otherwise the box office for Black Adam would have been a lot better. Who knows, without that post-credit scene, maybe the Black Adam box office would have been a lot worse. So the box office doesn't support the fact that Henry Cavill's Superman is popular. Now, in the DC Universe fandom, this is how it is. Some people love what Snyder did with Henry's Superman, and some people hate it. But in the DC fandom, everyone loves Henry as Superman, but we don't all love what was done with his Superman, right? That's the thing. So he's popular with us, whether we like what Snyder did with him or not. But in terms of general audiences, I'm not sure how big and how popular Henry Cavill is. And again, I asked the question, is it too little too late for Gunn, Safran and Zaslav to sprinkle their magic on DC? Because Marvel have oversaturated the market. And there's no question people are growing tired of everything in entertainment being about superheroes. Disney Plus, cinemas, it's everywhere. It's the only thing the industry is basically making now. Of course, there is other stuff, but it's not out there readily for mainstream audiences to go and watch. It's superheroes, and more superheroes. And of course, people are getting bored. And generally, the audience are growing, not just the audience, but people within, talented people within the industry are getting fed up with the dominance of the superhero market, because they want to make films which says their own thing. They want to say something about life, the world, their stories, and they can't, because the only thing that's selling right now is superheroes. But this year, cinematically, has been a very interesting year. It hasn't been a great year for Disney if you look at it deeply. Their MCU movies weren't as good a quality as they used to be. Don't forget, we ended last year with Spider-Man No Way Home. As far as I'm concerned, one of the best CBMs I've ever seen. And you can laugh at me, but that film has a great narrative quality. And it's not just the fact they're throwing two Spider-Men in there. It focuses on Tom's Spider-Man. And what a great job they did with Tom's Spider-Man. And credit to Tom, because his performance was excellent. But yeah, there is, I think, from the industry and like the audience and the consumer as a whole, we are getting tired of superheroes. Here's what I think. I don't think it's too little too late for DC, even though the market is saturated. But I feel maybe the money isn't as big as it used to be. Yeah, because it's been an interesting year. Top Gun Maverick is not a superhero tentpole. It's the most successful movie of this year. And, Disney, the dominance of Disney hasn't been great this year, because we have got Minions, The Rise of Gru versus the Lightyear movie, right? And basically, Minions, The Rise of Gru destroyed Disney's Buzz Lightyear movie. So what does that tell you? The dominance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? And Disney is falling flat. That's actually a good thing, because nobody wants or needs them to have dominance. You can't have such a dominant studio. It's never happened before, ever. You need everyone to be able to make stuff, a variety of stuff that can be consumed. So I don't think it's too little, too late. And I believe that James Gunn is a very talented man, as is Peter Safran. But why did Zaslav go to them? Because let's be honest, it wasn't like there were people knocking the door down to take this DC Studios, head's job. I don't think there was. I think Zaslav had a problem. Of course, he went to Feig and all the best people in the industry, and ultimately, he had to turn to two people at the studio already. James Gunn had already done Peacemaker and The Suicide Squad, and Peter Safran and his production company, the Safran Pictures Group, Inc., were already producing DC movies for WB. So they were happy to take this job. Mick, you're saying, why wouldn't people want to take this job? Because it's difficult. It's a challenge. And also, Zaslav's in charge, and he's got his fingers on the chicken switch. And maybe people were concerned that they wouldn't have enough creative freedom. But I think the ultimate issue is here that, they would have said, the other people that Zaslav would have approached would have said, right, what about these Hamada movies? What do we do with them? There's no kind of hype around them. Are we going to connect these movies? Basically, any creative he approached would have had the same questions that you and I have, right? It's obvious. And so I feel this is why he had problems finding someone to head DC Studios. But we do have James Gunn and Peter Safran, And even though I think that, the options weren't there for Zaslav to get whoever he wanted, I still think that Gunn and Safran are two really good co-chairs of DC Studios. And I believe their vision is the right way to go. Because if you're looking at this as a business, the best thing to do is look at the Marvel blueprint, which works. Even now, it works. Even with really poor movies and D plus shows coming out this year, their stocks and shares are really, really high. So it's not as good for the viewer on the eye as it was before for the MCU, but it's still doing well. So there's still an audience for superhero movies, animation, TV shows, but no one's really tapped that superhero gaming market yet. Gunn and Safran are going to attempt to do this using this story that's spanning through the new DC universe. For me, this is huge and exciting. So I'm really, really kind of excited and can't wait to hear what Gunn and Safran are planning. And that's what James Gunn on Twitter said to a fan: in the not too distant future, we are going to find out what's going on here. And I think that's important. So that excites me. That puts me in a better mood than I've been in the past couple of days. So after the report saying that, Henry Cavill hasn't signed a deal, no Superman film is in development at the moment, what does this mean? Well, like me and you, Zaslav is going to be asking the same questions. Superman, Henry Cavill's Superman is in a Black Adam movie. It doesn't matter if it's a few seconds. He's been out the picture. They literally blacklisted Superman. He's back. The actor was hyping it up. I think the reason they had Henry go on Instagram is to spread the message to try and build up the box office for Black Adam. Because whatever way you look at it, it's not a good box office. And, I think that The Rock thinks he's a bigger star than he actually is. And I think WB, the former leadership, when they gave him the keys to the Black Adam franchise, probably thought that his pulling power was bigger than it actually is. Now, I never thought his pulling power is that huge, because nobody has pulling power anymore. You see all the people playing superheroes, they do other projects, they don't make the same money as the MCU does. These days, it's about the characters you're playing, it's about the franchise, and this is what it's all about now. A director could make a big Spider-Man movie, right? So the guy who did Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man Homecoming, those movies made big box office, but it doesn't mean his next movie is going to make that type of box office, because things are different today. Back in the day when I was growing up, when Spielberg made a movie, it would more often than not be successful because of the name Spielberg. So we don't have any movie stars with pulling power, and we don't have star directors with that pulling power anymore. So that's a fact. So listen, I think that Zaslav would have looked at the Black Adam box office and said, hey, wait a minute. Henry Cavill should have really helped that movie make more money. Is he the right person? He's asking this to basically lead the next era in the DC universe as Superman. And I must admit, I was really, really surprised that Henry was back, and he came out and said, he's back as Superman. And we kind of made the assumption that meant he would be the DC Universe Superman. Maybe he'll cameo in these 4 movies out next year. I don't know about that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Nothing wrong with being wrong, right? It's okay. Maybe he isn't the new DC Universe's Superman. Because it's an interesting thing. Now, everything he said leads us to think that there's a film out there in development for him to play Superman. And he said he can't say too much right now. So the way Henry's been talking, it's a foregone conclusion, and he's going to be playing Superman in a movie again. Now, Henry Cavill isn't mad. He wouldn't be saying this for no reason, but it does sound like it's true that no Superman movie is in actual development right now. No director. But more important than all, Henry hasn't actually got a deal. So is he actually going to be, the DC Universe's Superman? The way Henry's been talking, I would say yes, but nobody else is talking about it. It's like Henry Cavill's going on about this, but no one else is. And why is that? I believe Zaslav realised that Black Adam was going to be a bomb and very problematic, and that critics weren't going to like it and they were going to bomb the reviews. I believe that. And I believe that Zaslav felt the film needed something to even get to maybe $400 or $500 million globally. So I think this is the reason Henry Cavill's Superman was attached to that movie. And this is why all the hype started. This is why The Rock teased and spoilt that for us, because they were desperate to get that movie to actually make money. So I actually believe that Cavill was put in that movie not because all of a sudden he's going to be the DC Universe's Superman going forward, but actually he was just used to uplift the box office of a movie most people see as not a very well made movie. Now, I enjoyed it, but I tried in code to explain to you my non-spoiler review. I never did do a spoiler review in the end, did I? It's been such a busy time with James Gunn and lots of news coming out. But anyway, I did try and code it for you when I did the non-spoiler review. You know, it's not the Batman, it's not the Joker, it's not the Dark Knight, it's not this, but it's a very good, enjoyable movie, which it is. But the movie has a semblance of problems, and that's because the wrong people wrote it and the wrong person directed it. Although he's a very good director, he was the wrong person. The Rock was allowed, right, like Margot Robbie was allowed with Birds of Prey, to choose the writer, director, and all of that. And when you allow an actor with little experience in how to make a movie, now they may be around when a movie's being made, but they're actors at the end of the day. They don't understand the fundamentals of making a good movie, and that's the problem, everyone. And so Toby Emmerich and Walt Hamada did this twice. They didn't learn their mistake with Margot Robbie, and they allowed The Rock to kind of, you know, rule the roost over this movie. You know, that Black Adam isn't the villain in the first Shazam, that Black Adam gets his own movie. Black Adam should never have had his own movie. Anyway, the movie has made what it's made. I like the movie. There were some good Easter eggs, DCEU Easter eggs in the movie. We had Amanda Waller, and we obviously had James Gunn's wife as Amelia Harcourt in, which, look, they're great. They're great Easter eggs and cameos, and the biggest cameo was Superman. But I believe he wasn't put in there to tell us that, oh yeah, I'm Superman going forward now. I believe he was put in there so more people would uplift that movie. And ultimately, it didn't work to the extent that Zaslav wanted it to. So surely he's going to be thinking now, if Henry Cavill's Superman can't uplift this movie, then maybe Henry Cavill shouldn't be Superman going forward. But maybe it's beyond that. Maybe it was never the plan for Henry Cavill to be the new DC Universe Superman. And maybe they're going to cast somebody else. How do I feel about this? Well, I love Henry Cavill as Superman, and yes, you're right, there's a big buck coming. If it was me, as I've said to you all before, I would be recasting the whole universe, right? So people can forget the mediocrity of the DCEU. I believe Zack Snyder's plan was very unique and exciting, although it wasn't for everyone and it wasn't for the mainstream audience and it wouldn't have made big money. I love his 3 movies, and I think his arc would have been blistering, compelling, and epic. And I would have loved it. And it's a shame we never got to see the fruition of that franchise, so at least the audience could have made their own minds up if it worked or not. But that didn't happen. It isn't going to happen. And yes, for me, when we go into the new DC universe, I'd rather have a brand new Superman, a brand new Batman, and just start from scratch. And I have a suspicion this is exactly what's going to happen. Now, Zaslav was kind of hedging his bets. Obviously, if this movie made 6, 7, 800, 900, $1 billion, and they basically, from their research, worked out it was because Henry Cavill's Superman was in it, and let's be honest, from the content of Black Adam, it would only be that, or maybe the JSA. So I think if the film made money because of Cavill's appearance, then Henry Cavill would definitely be Superman going forward. I personally believe that Gunn and Saffron don't want to use Ben Affleck as Batman in the new universe. They don't want to use Henry Cavill as Superman. But I actually agree with them. No matter how much I love all these actors in the DCEU, including Gal Gadot, right, I believe the best direction to go in now is a fresh start. This has been the DC Universe Daily here on Movies TV Mad, Sunday's edition for you. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.